Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a genuinely fascinating area of linguistics called semantics, or to bring in a bit of Arabic context, ilm al-dilala. We're going to literally look under the hood of human language. We use words all day, every day, right? But how often do we actually stop and think about the invisible rules that dictate what those words really mean? Well, let's find out. I love starting with this observation from the comedian George Carlin. He used to joke, the words fire department make it sound like they're the ones who are starting fires, doesn't it? It should be called the extinguishing department. He also pointed out that bomb squad sounds like a literal gang of terrorists. It's hilarious, but it hits the nail right on the head. If you just look at the surface meanings of words, they can be super quirky and sometimes completely illogical. But with semantics, our goal is to strip away the jokes and the personal interpretations to find that core objective meaning. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with defining meaning, or al-mana. Then we'll look at semantic features, which is asimat ad-dalaliyya. After that, we'll cover semantic roles, al-adwar ad-dalaliyya. And finally, we'll wrap up with lexical relations, or al-alakat al-mujamiyya. Let's jump right into Section 1, defining meaning, specifically looking at conceptual versus associative meaning. Think about two minds trying to connect with each other. Semantics is all about that objective, shared agreement on meaning that actually makes communication possible. It doesn't try to account for your personal, subjective, or localized interpretations. Because if we're going to communicate effectively, our minds absolutely have to agree on a baseline reality for the words we're using. And to get to that shared agreement, linguists divide meaning into two main camps. First up is conceptual meaning, or al-mana al-mahomi. This is the literal dictionary definition of a word. So for the word needle, the conceptual meaning is simply a thin, sharp steel instrument. That's it. It's literal. On the other hand, you have associative meaning, or al-mana al-taraboti. This is all the emotional baggage a word carries. So for needle, that might be pain, blood, going to the doctor, or maybe just knitting. Now, poets and advertisers, they absolutely love associative meaning. But in linguistic semantics, we strictly focus on that basic conceptual meaning. All right, moving on to Section 2, semantic features. This is where we look at words as literal checklists. Okay, I want you to read this sentence. The hamburger ate the boy. Why does that feel so weird to hear? If you actually analyze the syntax, the grammar is totally fine. It's a noun phrase, a verb, and a noun phrase. It follows all the standard rules of English. And yet our brains instantly reject it as nonsense. So what's going on? Well, we can solve this little hamburger mystery by using positive and negative semantic features. Basically, we break down the conceptual meaning of words into basic elements, like whether something is plus or minus animate, human, female, or adult. Think about it. A boy is plus animate and plus human. A table is minus animate, and by extension, so is a hamburger. Now, the verb ate strictly requires a subject that is plus animate. Since a hamburger is minus animate, it literally cannot be the doer of the verb ate. This subconscious mental checklist is exactly how our brains silently police the logic of everything we say. Which brings us to Section 3, semantic roles. This is where we stop looking at words as just checklists and start seeing them as actors in a scene. Let's look at a straightforward action sentence. The boy cut the rope with an old razor. Instead of just labeling these as grammatical nouns and verbs, semantics lets us figure out the specific job or the semantic role each word is playing in this exact event. Let's introduce our cast of characters. First, we have the agents, or al-munafith. That's the entity actually doing the action, which here is the boy. Next is the theme, or al-muta'athir. This is the entity being affected by the action, so the rope. Then we have the instrument, or al-ada. This is the tool the agent uses, which is an old razor. Oh, and we also have the experiencer, or al-mujarib. Now, that's not in our cutting example, but if we said, the boy feels sad, the boy isn't doing an action, right? He's experiencing a state or a feeling. Identifying these roles helps us map out the precise function of every single word in any given scenario. Okay, so words have features, and they play specific roles. But if words aren't just isolated little containers of meaning, how do they actually connect to each other in our minds? That's exactly what Section 4 is all about. Lexical relations. Exploring how words form massive, interconnected networks. We constantly explain things by relating them to other things, right? Let's start with opposites, which we call antonyms. But here's the catch. Not all opposites work the same way.
First, you have gradable antonyms, like big and small. These exist on a sliding scale. Things can be bigger or smaller, and crucially, saying my car is not old doesn't automatically mean my car is new. It could be somewhere in the middle. But then you have non-gradable antonyms, like alive and dead. There is no sliding scale there. You can't be a little bit more dead. With these, the negative absolutely guarantees the positive. If someone is not dead, they are definitely alive.
Next up is hyponymy, or al-shumul. This is all about hierarchy and categories. It happens when the meaning of one word is completely baked into the meaning of another. For instance, the overarching concept of animal includes dog, which then includes poodle. Or think of a rose. The broader concept of flower completely encompasses the hyponym rose. It's essentially an is a kind of relationship, and it's how we categorize everything in the world around us.
Then we have polysemy, or ta'addud al-ma'ani. This is super interesting. It's when one single word form has multiple meanings that are all related by some kind of conceptual extension. Think about the word head. You've got the head of a person resting on their shoulders, but you also talk about the head of a company. In both cases, it's the thing at the very top doing the controlling. We use the exact same word because the meanings are conceptually linked. This is totally different from homonyms, like a riverbank and a financial bank, which just randomly happen to sound the same but have completely different roots.
Finally, there's metonymy, or al-kinaya. This relationship isn't based on similarity, but on a close, physical, everyday connection. And we use it literally all the time without realizing it. It could be a container-contents relationship, like if I say, he drank the whole bottle. You obviously know he didn't eat the glass, he drank the liquid inside of it. Or it could be a whole part relationship, like saying nice wheels when you're actually complimenting someone's entire car.
Which leaves us with this final, truly mind-blowing thought to ponder. How does our brain map this invisible, wildly complex web of semantic rules automatically, in a fraction of a second, every single time we open our mouths to speak? We're juggling semantic features so our hamburgers aren't eating people, we're assigning semantic roles so we know exactly who's cutting the rope, and we're navigating this massive mental dictionary of lexical relations, all without even breaking a sweat. Human language is just an absolute marvel. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the words you use every day, and I'll catch you next time.